Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem HaKadosh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS, or the true leaders of Israel today. And salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen, but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushai. And the Lord's holy chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Akalia, and this video is about the prophecy of World War III. Alright, so as you can see on the screen, from Redacted, we must prepare for war with Russia, NATO, and Europe preparing. Alright, so then I have this video up. NATO chief Root warns allies they are Russia's next target. Alright, so World War III is a part of Bible prophecy, and it will come to pass. It is one of the final prophecies. Revelation 11 and verse 14, the second woe is past, talking about World War II, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly, talking about World War III. Alright, so when I said one of the final prophecies, I meant for this kingdom, right? Esau's kingdom, the kingdom of the so-called white man. They are the biblical Edomites, and they are living through their blessing right now, the fatness of the earth, the dew of heaven, and by the sword would they rule. And we're coming to an end of their rulership, man. Okay, as the scriptures say, that he shall be loosed a little season. That little season is coming to an end. And so at the end of his rulership, we're going to see the manifestation of these final prophecies, the mark of the beast, which is a microchip, the World War III, the War of Armageddon, which will lead to the ICBM missiles shot towards America to destroy her. The destruction of America, which is Babylon the Great, that's a part of Bible prophecy. And while the missiles are on their way to America, Yahushua is going to return and deliver the elect of the nation of Israel from the four corners of the earth, and 1/3 of our people residing in America, which will be of the elect. All right, but before that moment can occur, the mark of the beast prophecy, which is the microchip, has to be fulfilled. So keep eyes on that and all of these other prophecies. All right, because we're at the end, man. Okay, and the thing about it is that these prophecies, they're going to be popping off. Okay, pop back to back to back. 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 37 says, behold, the plagues draw nigh, and are not slack, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth. The world shall mourn, and sorrows shall come upon it on every side. Alright, so it's likened unto childbirth, the plagues, right? These prophecies of great judgment, okay, they're going to be popping off back to back to back. A woman, once the water breaks, she feels the contractions, and the closer that the child is closer to being birthed, the contractions become shorter and more intense, more painful. All right, so we're in that time, man, and it says, and sorrows shall come upon it on every side. Yahushua said that we will be seeing certain things before his return. He said that we see earthquakes, uproars of the people around the world, pestilences, famine, etc. Okay, and we're seeing all of those things, man. And yes, there is famine in like Sudan and Gaza, and the famine is going to be picking up very soon all around the world. These are the signs that we'll see. But then Yahushua also said these are the beginning of sorrows. So great sorrows are coming upon the world and upon the wicked unbelieving of our people. Jacob's trouble, a time like never before upon us as a nation, and Jacob's trouble will not end until Yahushua returns and delivers us out of it. Okay, so we're in some very serious, critical times. Now, the World War III prophecy is building up, and it says NATO chief en route warns allies they are Russia's next target.
More allies in Europe need to urgently step up. We are grateful for the United States' efforts in pursuing a lasting peace in Ukraine. Relevant progress has been made with crucial Ukrainian and European involvement.
We are Russia's next target. And we are already in harm's way. When I became NATO Secretary General last year, I warned that what is happening in Ukraine could happen to allied countries too. That we had to shift to a wartime mindset. I fear that too many are quietly complacent. Too many don't feel the urgency. And too many believe that time is on our side. It is not. The time for action is now. And how is Putin able to continue his war against Ukraine? The answer is China. China is Russia's lifeline. China wants to prevent its ally from losing in Ukraine. Without China's support, Russia could not continue to wage this war. President Trump wants to end the bloodshed now. And he is the only one who can get Putin to the negotiating table. So let's put Putin to the test. Let's see if he really wants peace, or if he prefers the slaughter to continue. We need to be ready, because at the end of this first quarter of the 21st century, conflicts are no longer fought at arm's length. Conflict is at our door. Russia has brought war back to Europe. And we must be prepared for the scale of war our grandparents and great-grandparents endured.
Yeah, what did people's grandparents and great-grandparents endure? World War I or World War II? Right? That's what he's alluding to. Because World War III is on its way, man. And they know it. And they try to appear as victims, but it doesn't even matter, because what's happening is an Edomite brawl, right? The Edomites are these so-called white people. So look at what's going on. You have Russia on one end, who has then enlisted the aid of the heathen, the so-called African nations, Iran, China. You can look at those that are part of the BRICS, BRICS. And then you have on the other end, America, NATO and the EU, plus the state of Israel, all right, who was deemed an unofficial member of NATO. So this is an Edomite brawl. But then, what do the scriptures say about that? Let's take a look. In Mark chapter 3 and verse 24, it says, "And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand." And Esau's kingdom is divided. There's no harmony among them. Russia is an Edomite sovereign nation. America, NATO, and the EU, these are Edomite sovereign nations. These are Edomite tensions. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. The house of Esau is divided against itself. There's no harmony among them. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand but at an end. This is talking about the so-called white man. All right, Satan referring to the adversary to who? Yahweh, Shemishai, and the Israelites. All right. Psalms 83 lists the enemies and lets us know what it is. So they're completely divided, man. And so their kingdom hath an end, and it is coming to its end. And it's going to end in a spectacular fashion with the whole chaos of World War III erupting, and it's going to happen over there in the so-called Middle East. In the book of Joel, chapter 2 and verse 20, it says, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate," which is talking about Saudi Arabia, the land of Saudi Arabia, "with his face toward the east sea, which is the Euphrates River, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, which is the Red Sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things." So they're gonna lose. We already know the result. They're gonna lose. Okay? And the Lord is putting the spirit upon these heathen to go to war, right? The so-called Middle East, which is actually Western Asia. Okay, so it's not Ukraine. Ukraine is looking like perhaps a catalyst to what will happen over in Western Asia, but that's going to be the main place of contention, Western Asia. And in Joel chapter 3 and verse 9, it says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles," talking about the heathen. "Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves, and come all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither, cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about." So the Lord is putting the spirit upon these heathen to go to war. And that's why we're seeing all of this kind of activity. Now, in his speech, he mentioned something about, I think, Trump wanting peace and whatever. None of that is going to happen, according to Bible prophecy. So you can ignore that part and focus on what is escalating, right? And also, if you've been observing this year, you can see that this has been the kind of narrative, but of like trying to establish peace talks, right? But all kinds of things have been happening with that, because even with the peace talks, there has been an escalation of another prophecy that is to be observed, and that prophecy is this one right here in Revelation chapter 17 and verse 16. "And the 10 horns, which is the European Union, which thou sawest upon the beast, which is NATO, these shall hate the whore, which is America, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." So what this is saying is that America's allies are going to turn against her and burn her with fire. Burn her with what fire? By way of the ICBM missiles. So that means that the relationship between America and her current allies are going to deteriorate. And that relationship has been deteriorating, and this year it has been observed, and other years before it, but this year there has been a very the tensions have been rising, right, with the whole Ukraine thing, where earlier this year Trump decided to have talks with Russia and Ukraine, but has intentionally left out NATO and the EU in these talks, in which they were offended by it, and then they were talking about how they're going to withhold intelligence information from America and all these things. And over these past months, it's just, they're just breaking apart. And then, you have, where is it at? Here, US and EU divided over Russian assets, just to bring this out to show that they're divided. All right, and they're divided not only on this, but divided on many different things. There's no harmony among the Edomites, because what the scripture is saying is that we already know the two opposing sides, but NATO and the EU are actually going to break off from America. And then we know that the state of Israel is, America's ally that's going to draw them out to go to war, right? When it says the least of the flock, Jeremiah 50 and verse 45, "Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh, that he had taken against Babylon, which is America, and his purposes, that he had purpose against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock," talking about the Israelis, the small hats, "shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them." So that's going to be America's ally, right? Because NATO and the EU are going to break off at some point in time. We don't know when exactly it's going to be, but it will be by the time the missiles are launched towards America. And right now we're seeing the fracturing of that relationship. Okay, we are approaching the end, so be excited, man. this situation that we're in was always only a temporary situation, and our kingdom is coming. Okay, and so Ecclesiasticus chapter 25 and verse 7, there be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. And we are witnessing the fall of our enemy, the Edomites, the so-called white people. Yapa Yahweh Shemishai. With that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shemishai, Bashem Kodesh. Shalom.